Everyone, please remain standing for the Union City High School Marine Corps, JROTC, as they will be presenting the color guard, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by Faudi Bautista and Ayeli Medina, followed by the National Anthem by Sabrina Perez.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight and the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Great job, thank you. Now please help me welcome our county executive. Por favor, ayúdeme a agradecer al ejecutivo del condado, Tom DeGeese.
Thank you. And I know you didn't come here tonight to hear me speak, so I'm going to be very, very brief for you. I just want to say how proud I am to be in Union City in Colin Powell School. I don't know if there's another school in the country that's named after Colin Powell, but for guys my generation, he was a hero and a statesman and well worthy of having a school named after him. I got to say that I'm a little bit of returning to the hood, if you could. I actually went to school right across the street in what used to be St. Michael's High School there. So I'm pretty comfortable right here, and if those walls could talk. You know, I don't know about you, but I'm tired of listening to explanations of what collusion is, WikiLeaks, and all of the other things that dominate all of the news cycles. I think that the people of America, the people of New Jersey, the people of Union City, more than anything, want to talk about health care. They want to talk about transportation and infrastructure. They want to talk about immigration and all the things that are important to us. And I know that tonight we will be talking about that. You know, a lot of times when you're asked to introduce the next speaker, you say, I'm going to introduce to you a guy that knows that doesn't need an introduction. Nowhere in the whole world is that more apt than in Union City with Brian Stack. So I give to you a guy that doesn't need any kind of introduction, my friend, the Mayor and Senator Brian Stack.
Thank you very much, Tom. I'm very proud to be the mayor of Union City every day, but it's a true honor and a pleasure to have someone that works every day hard for this state. And no one has done more in a short period of time that he's been the governor than Phil Murphy has. No one has. He's taken on issues that affect every single one of us in this gymnasium tonight, from helping the poor to the middle class, mass transit, building our infrastructure, helping us with schools, and anytime I call Governor Murphy, if I don't get him immediately, there's a call back the same day. You don't find that very often, and I say that from the bottom of my heart. It's my pleasure to have him in Union City tonight with us. We want him here all the time with us, and that's our good friend, Governor Phil Murphy.
Thank you. Thank you. One sec. Technical difficulties. How's that? No? No? Is that a yes or no? Okay. I'll hand that to you. We'll go the old-fashioned way. Good evening, Union City. Thank you all so much. I want to thank County Executive Tom DeGeese one more time. Let's hear it for Tom DeGeese. The one, the only, your mayor and senator, the singular Brian Stack. Clerk Junior Maldonado for Hudson County. We got Mayor Ravi Bala from Hoboken, Jimmy Davis from Bayonne. We got commissioners from Union City. We got folks from all over the county, and I'm incredibly honored to be with you tonight. And I should say that I'm incredibly honored to be back in Union City because it's a place I come a lot. I come here to campaign, thanks to the mayor. I usually am in big rooms with lots of people with him around elections, like this one. I've also come here to grieve. I grieve with you when you lost 5 little blessed ones to a fire last year, and my wife was here as well. And we've come here, like tonight, to talk about the issues that are facing Union City, facing Hudson County, facing the great state of New Jersey. And I want to talk to you for a few minutes about some of those issues, and then I'd love to take some of your questions. Does that sound all right? Everybody okay up on the bleachers? How about the 2 folks who gave us the Pledge of Allegiance and the extraordinary voice of that woman who sang the national anthem? How about that extraordinary group of students with the Marine Color Guard? While we're at it, let's hear it for all of our veterans. Yeah. How about police and fire and first responders? How about our union brothers and sisters? New Jersey is the union state in the United States of America. Barry, let there be no doubt about that. So to each and every one of you, I'm incredibly humbled to be here. And Colin Powell, by the way, speaking of the military, is an American hero. And as Brian reminded me, he was here. And he embodies the very best. I had the honor of representing our country as the U.S. ambassador in Germany. Germany is the largest non-combat deployment of U.S. troops. Mayor Fife from Harrison is in the house. I didn't see him, Mayor. God bless you, Mayor, both of you. The largest deployment of combat troops in the outside the United States. And there's nothing better than the service of our men and women in our military. So God bless not just General Powell for his service, but to each and every one who have served. So I won't be long tonight. I want to just give you a couple of thoughts. As you think about my time as governor, as you think about our budget and our blueprint for the middle class, as you think about the steps that we take, there are frames that inform every sort of decision we take, everything we stand for. And I want to make sure you remember what a couple of those are. Number one, stronger and fairer. We stand for a New Jersey that is stronger and fairer and works not just for some, but for everybody. That's an important guiding principle. Somebody called me a pro-growth progressive. I'll take that, which means you could be both progressive and proudly so, as I am and we are, but you can also stand for growing the economy and creating jobs and being an adult in terms of balancing our books. We also believe it, put differently, that you don't make economic progress without social progress, and likewise, you don't make social progress without economic progress. One without the other doesn't work. We could believe, all of us, in a whole long list of great social programs. Unless we grow the pie and grow our economy, we can't find the money to pay for them. And by the same token, if we grow the pie and grow our economy, and we leave a lot of our society behind, what good will that be? That's, in fact, the state I inherited from the last guy. You remember him, right? Easy now, easy. Not trying to score cheap political points. We also believe that we build this state and rebuild it from the middle class out and from the bottom up. That sound all right? From the middle class out and from the bottom up. As the middle class goes, so goes, frankly, the whole state of New Jersey. And as communities like Union City and counties like Hudson County go, so goes the whole state of New Jersey, right? And I love that. And I love the green shirts, by the way. I didn't have to read this. The red ones are also cool, too, by the way. I don't want to be discriminating one colored shirt versus the other. I love them all. I didn't have to read this in a book. I think you all know, you know me as your governor, but you may not know me when I was little growing up. I grew up in a household. I was born in Boston. Please don't hold that against me. Easy now, easy now. Major League Baseball's upon us. I grew up in a household, youngest of four. We were working poor. I used to say middle class on a good day. One of my friends, T.J. Best, up in Passaic County a couple years ago, said, Murph, you were working poor. And he was right. My dad didn't get out of high school. My mom did. He did a whole bunch of different jobs. I think his number one earning year ever was $19,500. My mom was largely a secretary and an office clerk. They kind of split responsibilities. He cared passionately about our religion. I'm a Roman Catholic, cared passionately about Catholicism and adhering to going to church and all that. And my mom cared about getting us an education. And that was what she drilled in, that's what they drilled into the four of us. Again, I'm the youngest of four. I had the extraordinary good fortune, public schools. I went to Harvard College, got a master's degree. All three of my siblings also went to college. My two sisters each got master's degree. We were the first, like so many of us, right? The first in our family, the first generation to go to college. My mother drilled, she had never been to college, but she knew what you needed to do to get to college. And she drilled it. When I'm finished, I got to come over and check out the kiddie corner, by the way. She drilled it into us so much so, it meant so much to me that I buried my Harvard diploma with my mother because without her, I wouldn't have gotten it. So I say that because I just didn't land as governor. You know, Brian and Tom and I met way back when it was cold. Junior and I met when it was cold, dark, and lonely. The mayors here did. This is America, right? We're all part of the American story, and we all want to live some piece of the American dream. And I've been extraordinarily fortunate to do so. So when I say we build this from the middle class out and from the bottom up, I didn't read that in a book. I didn't have to take a class to learn that. I have lived that. And that's the New Jersey that I want to see us recapture in our time as governor. So I don't want to revisit history, but I've been governor for about, Brian, I haven't offended you, have I? Just check it. Just check it. No, he's already given up on this. I have to say this as I stand in the circle. Jump ball. So I don't want to revisit history too much, but it is also worth remembering the state that I inherited 14 or 15 months ago, okay? It's a state when it came to education where politics was put ahead of kids. It's a state with transportation where it was ignored almost completely, right? Yeah, not anymore. I love you, Ray. It was a state where the health care of our 9 million, of all 9 million of us, was not supported and largely ignored. It was a state, which I think is ironic given the folks, and bless their hearts, and I don't blame them for being passionate about a clean energy environment. It was a state that was a train wreck as it relates to the environment. It was a state that did not treat our immigrant brothers and sisters with the proper respect and support that they deserve. It was a state that was a fiscal mess. The rating agencies that sort of keep track of us had downgraded us in the last administration 11 consecutive times. That's not good, by the way. You want that going the other way, not going down. I could go on and on and on. So we inherited a really difficult situation. Fiscally, morally, spiritually, this was not the New Jersey that we all have come to know. I moved here. My wife, by the way, who sends her best, the First Lady says hello to everybody. She loves Union City. We moved to New Jersey. I love that. Let's go. First Lady Tammy Murphy. We moved here to raise our 4 kids. Many of you have been, a guy like Tom, who just talked about going to high school across the street. You're part of the fabric here. Many others have come to this state from somewhere else. Many immigrant brothers and sisters, because we believed in this state. We believed in its promise. And the fact of the matter is that promise was hollowed out in the last administration. So we got elected to fix it and to stand for that stronger, fairer New Jersey that works not just for some, but for everybody. And that's what we're doing. Now, a couple of things. You see a blueprint for the middle class. You can look it up under any of these handles here. That's largely embodied in our budget that we presented a few weeks ago. And the budget is an annual process. Brian knows this. How many budgets have you had to live through, Brian, as senator? 14 budgets. So this is yet another budget to wrestle through. The budget's an annual thing, and it's an important, huge, important exercise, and that New Jersey does this really well. It's a very good, the governor presents it, and the legislature and the governor and all of you got a chance to weigh in on it and say what you like about it, what you don't like about it, and ultimately we come to a resolution. And I think we're off to a good start. But it's also a milestone during the year when there are lots of other things that you do away from the budget. So while the budget is a blueprint for the middle class, and I want to talk about it, we've already long ago, last year, let me just tell you what we did. Planned Parenthood was defunded for 8 years. We funded Planned Parenthood, ladies and gentlemen, and we'll continue to fund it. We signed the strongest equal pay law in the United States of America. We signed the strongest earned sick leave law in the United States of America. We just signed a new version of now the strongest, again, paid family leave law in the United States of America. We have now, after a series of steps, the strongest gun safety laws in the United States. We are putting together a plan to get to a 100% clean energy New Jersey economy by the year 2050. We have stood up day in and day out against Donald Trump and for our immigrant brothers and sisters, including our dreamers. We have stood as strong as any state for the LGBTQ community in New Jersey. So the budget is really important, and getting that right is really important, but that doesn't mean we don't show up every single day and try to move the needle and make this state as strong as it can be. Let me tell you 4 things about this budget, the so-called blueprint for the middle class. 4 quick items. It's built on 4 pillars, if you will. Number 1, we have to prove to you all that we know how to run this state and save money. So we work with our union brothers and sisters, and we found savings of $1.1 billion, repeatable, year in and year out. And I want to give not just our team, but I want to give our union brothers and sisters. And by the way, that wasn't we're taking away good coverage from our public sector employees. It wasn't that we're making them pay more so we can pay less. No, we protected what they're paying. We protected their health care coverage, but we've found ways to make it more efficient so that the employee does better and the state does better, and as a taxpayer, you all do better, right? So one pillar is we're saving a lot of money because we have to prove to you, just like you can't spend money in your household that you don't have, we got to behave the same way in the state. We got to be able to show that we don't spend money that we don't have. Number 2, I mentioned that the credit rating agencies had downgraded us 11 straight times. We have to draw a line under that. We have to stop that. So the second pillar is we have to show fiscal responsibility. So we presented last year a big surplus in our budget, this year an even bigger one. So we can, I'm not sure we're going to start seeing ourselves being upgraded anytime soon, but we have to draw a line under that and say, you know what, enough of the borrowing from tomorrow to pay for today. So these so-called one-shot revenues, we've cut to an all-time low. We've cut diversions where you think you're paying money for one thing and yet the money was being taken and paid for something else. We've cut those way back. So the second pillar is fiscal responsibility. First one is to save money. The second one is to prove that we're responsible. The third one is the big one. The third one is an all-in investment in the middle class in this state. We began that last year. Almost, as I said, almost every step we take is informed by that notion that we are all in for the middle class. So this is, for instance, in this blueprint, in this budget, over $200 million more than even last year, which was $350 million more than the year before into K through 12 public education. It is more money to continue the expansion of pre-K education throughout the state. It is more money with the objective ultimately to make community college, first and foremost for the folks who have the most need, free of charge for everybody in this state. One of the reasons you're here, having just driven by your extraordinary high school, I got to get up on the roof someday and play some football with you, Brian. I would love that. One of the driving reasons that people come into New Jersey or stay in New Jersey is public education. You all know that. You've got an extraordinary school system here. We're in an extraordinary school right now. And by the way, Union City is extraordinary, but let me just tell you about the whole state of New Jersey. We're ranked number 2 in America. Number 1 in physics. Number 2 in chemistry. Number 1 in the percentage of our kids who take a foreign language. Those are extraordinary statistics. No other state can say that. So investing in education, making it more accessible from pre-K all the way up through higher education, and maintaining the quality is a huge part of our investment in the middle class. Let me give you another one. Love this guy. Another one. I told you the last administration basically somewhere between ignored and gutted NJ Transit. We are fixing NJ Transit, right? We're finally putting real money in. This year's budget, $407.5 million. The year before I got from the state, the year before I got there was $100 and something million. $407.5 million. Meeting the federal safety requirements. Training more engineers and bus operators to finally be able to get back so that we've got an excess amount so we have more degrees of freedom. This will not be fixed overnight. And by the way, the brothers and sisters in organized labor, and many of whom are here, who work inside of NJ Transit, whether it's on the bus side or the train side or in the behind the scenes, they were working every single day in that last administration. They didn't let up once. You guys and gals came to work, you buckled your straps, and you did the best job you could, but nobody had your back. Well, I'm the governor now who's got your back. And by the way, the last administration, if you take NJ Transit, either the bus or a train, your fares went up 36% over those 8 years. And I always ask, did your commuting experience go up 36%? Hardly. So we promised no fare increase this year, and if we get the investment that we want, there'll be no fare increase next year. We got to get this fixed before we can start asking people to pay more money. And we will get it fixed. Now listen, one cautionary point, it won't be overnight. I'm confident we're doing on transit everything within our power, and I am. The right management, the right... Are we okay here, guys? You sure? Everybody okay? That's not for me, is it? Are we okay out there? Okay. Keep whoever that is in your prayers, folks. So I'm confident we can control what we can control, the right management, the right funding from the state, meeting the safety deadlines, hiring the engineers and bus operators that we need. We do need, and I'll come back to this before I close, we do need the federal government to help us out too, right? So just hold that thought. So an all-in investment in the middle class, I could go through that third pillar in a lot more detail, but just know that it is a huge chunk of education, a huge chunk in transportation, and the stuff that you all care about at your kitchen table. Things like health care and jobs and workforce development. That's something, apprenticeships and workforce development, we're leading the nation on both of those fronts, and that's something our budget, our blueprint will see us continue to do. And then the fourth pillar. So the first pillar is save some money. Second one is be fiscally strong. The third one is the all-in investment in the middle class. The fourth one is tax fairness. If we're serious about all-in investment in the middle class, we have to stop making the middle class bear the price and the burden of that investment, right? It's only fair. It is only fair. And so a couple of things we're doing on the tax fairness front, other than we are doing everything we can to give the middle class in this state relief. Number one, if you're a company and you refuse to give your employees a health care plan, and you've got 50 or more of your employees that are on Medicaid as a result, meaning that the state and the federal government are paying for their health care, we're going to ask you to pay a fee. $150, that company has to pay $150 per person who's on Medicaid to help us share that burden. Is that only fair? Come on. Secondly, as part of that third pillar, all-in investment in the middle class, I have to say this is a huge investment in trying to crack the back of the scourge of the opioid addiction. One of the tax fairness steps that we're taking is if you're an opioid manufacturer or distributor, we're going to ask you to pay a small per-pill tax to help us fund the programs we need to beat back the opioid scourge. Does that sound all right? And again, that's paid by the manufacturer, not by you. And then lastly, I think if we're going to, particularly given the really good run that folks had here under the last administration, and the extraordinary tax cuts that wealthy individuals have gotten under the Trump administration and still getting, I think it is only fair that we ask the wealthiest among us, literally millionaires, to pay a little bit more and pay their fair share of tax. Right? I don't want to. No, easy now, easy. Again, I think it's only fair, and it's not a lot of money, but it's the right thing to do, and we could do it in a way where we don't create an us versus them environment, because that's what our president wants to create. That they can afford to pay a little bit more, and by doing so, we can make the investments in the middle class in New Jersey. And by the way, one last thing. Exactly no one in the middle class will pay the millionaire's tax, period. Okay. I got to ask you, where do I get a suit like that? I love you, man. I'll tell you. The only word that's coming to mind, you and I go way back, is pistachio. I love you, man. So those are the 4 pillars. Prove we could save some money at the state level. You don't spend money in your household more than you've got. We got to do the same. Secondly, draw a line under this fiscal free fall. Thirdly, make historic investments in the middle class, which we began last year. We didn't wait till this year to do that, by the way. We've been doing that every day, but this budget is another big step. And lastly, tax fairness. Those are the 4 pillars that underpin the blueprint for the middle class. Now, before I have a mic drop and take a few of your questions, I want to say one last thing. As good as we might be, as right as we might get it, and again, I think, Brian, the budget process is off to a good start. The Senate President, the Speaker, both chambers, we're talking a lot. It's a good start. We have a long way to go, but I feel good about the way we've started. If we get everything right in New Jersey, we still have to deal with Trump, right? There's just no two ways about that. And I don't say that lightly because he's our president. But the fact of the matter is, if you followed me around or my administration around every day, and you saw the actions we took, or the time we spent, or the energies we applied, there's an extraordinary amount of that day is dedicated toward either compensating, mitigating, or litigating what President Trump is trying to do to the state of New Jersey, right? So, a big one. We will not allow our immigrant families to be separated in this state, so help me God. If you've committed a crime, that's another story. But if somebody's coming at you just because you're an immigrant, those days are over in the state of New Jersey. Our dreamers, who are every bit as American as my 4 kids, I signed a law last year, I'm incredibly proud of this, that not only do they have access to in-state tuition for higher education, we gave them access to in-state financial aid, which is a big deal. I support, I've got a pen somewhere on me, this pen will sign a law that says everybody, as long as they take the tests and they pass the tests, regardless of their status, should be able to get a New Jersey driver's license. NJ Transit, Ray and his colleagues here, they know this better than anybody. As good as we might be at NJ Transit, we need Donald Trump and the federal government to step up and fund the Gateway Tunnel under the Hudson River. Again, if you're looking at the last administration, the ARC Tunnel, which was the tunnel before the Gateway Tunnel, would be open right now. And he canceled it. Huge mistake. We now are ready to go. We've been ready to go with the Gateway Tunnel. We need to get this funded. Trump so far has not gotten there yet. So I say to the president, I saw him a couple weeks ago, bless his heart. I'm frustrated, but I remain optimistic that somehow we'll get it. New Jersey's all in. New York is all in. Get this, 20% of our nation's economy depends on that rail line that goes under the Hudson River. Through Hudson County, under the Hudson River. 20% of the American economy. And our president rates it a low priority. You got to be kidding me. So that's another point. We need the federal government to help us. He talked about drilling for oil and gas off the Jersey Shore. Are you kidding me? We're not going to do that. We're going to put windmills off the Jersey Shore. Much nicer. Much nicer, much cleaner. So that's the last point. I just want to underscore that. We really need a constructive, helpful federal government. So if we achieve all of our wildest dreams in New Jersey, the federal government still matters. I signed us on to the Paris Climate Accords almost immediately, that we would stand with all the environment. I'm happy and proud we did that, but that's nothing like the federal government saying that the United States of America has signed on to that. So that's it, folks. So you got 4 pillars for the blueprint for the middle class. The most important one is an all-in investment in the middle class. And by the way, if we get education funded, transportation funded, we get the Trump administration to fund the Gateway Tunnel, no county will benefit more than Hudson County, right? And no community will probably benefit more than Union City. Those are facts. Not if we get that right, because I'm an optimist, we will get that right. So an all-in investment in the middle class, tax fairness, responsibly done, working with the federal government. And remember those parameters I started with. Stronger and fairer that works for everybody. Pro-growth, progressive. We don't make economic progress without social progress. We don't make social progress without economic progress. We build this state, we rebuild this state, by the way, with union labor, from the middle class out, and from the bottom up, and that's how I came up. This is not abstract. This is my life. This is your life. This is the New Jersey dream. This is the American dream. Let's take some questions. Thank you all.
A big round of applause. Thank you, Governor. Before we begin with questions, antes que comenzamos con preguntas, quiero hablar del proceso, cómo vamos a preguntar las preguntas. Before we begin with the questions, I just want to go over some rules on
By the way, your Spanish is outstanding. Who's got it? Let's go. What's your name again? Sophia? Sophia Howard. May I ask you where you got your shoes? No problem. I kind of thought they looked a little bit like mine. Do you have a question? Go ahead. How old are you, by the way? 4. What's your question? You're almost 5. For the purposes of folks who are watching, we have some media watching. Let's round her up to 5, please. Do you want to say anything? They already did it. They already did it? Let's hear it. Let's hear it. Let's see this young lady. How are you? What's your name?
Domenica.
Hi, Domenica. How old are you?
8.
8? Almost 9 or just turned 8?
Just
Happy birthday. When's your birthday?
March 5th.
March 5th. Happy birthday. Sorry about that. Do you have a question?
Yes. What do you do for like kids in New Jersey?
What do I do for kids in New Jersey? How about that question? So Domenica's in 2nd grade. So what do we do for kids in New Jersey? I'd say most importantly, we have great education. That's probably the #1 thing we do for kids, right? This Union City is a great example of that. We put a lot of that, and by the way, Domenica, in life, money isn't everything, so you need great educators. Let's hear it for our educators out there. We need great principals and superintendents and staff and moms and dads who care. But education, we care a lot about health care. We try to make it affordable, right? We try to make it as good as any state in America. So we were recently rated, not too long ago, by Save the Children, which is an important organization, as the #1 state in America to raise a kid, which I think is pretty cool. So education, healthcare, safety, let's say the 3 things we try to do the most. And stand up. If you're a young kid and you happen to be a dreamer in particular, we do a lot for you. But we care about education, we care about healthcare, we care about your safety. How's that? Bless you. Let's hear it for Domenica. I'm not sure I can get off my knee, but I'm going to go over to Brandon. Carly.
Thank you, Governor. My name is Francis Simpson. I am a public employee employed by the Hudson County Welfare Board and a proud member at Bath, New Jersey, Council 63.
Is there a dentist in here? Let's hear it for Francis.
I'm also president of Local 2306.
Local 2306.
Can you please explain how your budget achieves the projected $8 million in savings for health benefits, and what impact will this have on those of us who aren't in the state health benefits?
Love it. Great question. May I answer it up here? Is that all right? Thank you so much. Do you live in town?
Yes.
All right. Love the great church. So it's not just one thing you dropped. Great question, but you dropped 2 zeros. It's 800 million. 800 million out of the 1.1 billion. It's a little bit what I said earlier. It is doing it more efficiently and smarter. You know, we all know, and myself, I tell the stories about the state I inherited with all the big front page headlines of things that didn't go right, like canceling tunnels and gutting the funding for NJ Transit or underfunding public education by over $9 billion. But let me tell you what else they weren't doing. They weren't running the state smart. They weren't, and this is a big deal, by the way, if all you do is yell at public sector employees and not invite them to sit at the table with you, you'll get the result you deserve, which is basically nothing. So we have an attitude, we're tough too, by the way. Anybody who's negotiated with us will tell you we're tough as well, but we're fair, and we want to bring people in, and we believe you get a lot farther if you do things together at the same table than if you sort of scream at each other through a television. So that's what we did. We brought some of this is collectively bargained, some of it's subject to the plan and design committees. Other elements are being negotiated as we speak, but they're real. This is real, and I'm proud of it. And again, it met the test that it was, you didn't have to pay more, and you didn't have to suffer lesser health care coverage. So some folks think that's the way to salvation. I don't. I think you've taken it on the chin too much already. Too many of your brothers and sisters, I know educators are a great, unfortunate example of this, where your take-home pay is less than it was in 2010. That's not, even the people who in their wildest dreams weren't on your side didn't anticipate that. So we got to turn that back, and we think there's a significant amount of money available to. Thank you. Please look.
you.
I'm going to do this one remote. Is that all right?
That's fine.
Hi.
You got it? Okay.
Excuse us.
Good evening, Governor.
Good evening.
My name is Ralph Basante. I'm a very proud employee of the Union City School District.
Bless you, Ralph.
Thank you, and thank you for coming here.
My honor.
My question for you, I'm also a recovering addict.
Oh, bless you.
And my question for you, because you touched on the issue of the opioid epidemic, and that's something that affects so many of our youth in this state and everywhere in the country, is about the legalization of marijuana issue. I have very strong opinions about it myself because I think that it's very important that we address it as a health issue rather than as a moral failing or as a criminal issue. And I know that it was something that was actually in front of the legislature today.
Correct.
And I was curious if you would speak a little bit about your position on it.
Ralph, good to meet you. Let's hear it for Ralph.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Ralph, let me speak first. I don't want to go on too long. Let me speak first, not addressing marijuana, and then I'll come back and address marijuana. Let there be no doubt this is a scourge. The opioid epidemic is a scourge in New Jersey, and we have not broken the back of it. Last year, over 3,000 people died for the first time in the history of our state. We take little solace that the increase of deaths from 2017 to 2018 was a smaller percentage, which it was, but that shouldn't make anybody happy. And I have to repeat, it was an epidemic in our urban communities long before it made the front page headlines as it does and as it should every day. I go to the National Governors Association meetings. There's a big annual meeting there that was last month, and we go from time to time. Every governor in the country is facing this, so this is not unique to our state. And it's one of the few areas where there's at least common ground in accepting the problem. There's less common ground, I think, in the solutions that folks pursue. And a big element of this, and you all know this because it's in this county, it's everywhere, is the numbers over time are apples to oranges because of the introduction of fentanyl much more broadly into our lives. So, in fact, and I applaud. I do call balls and strikes, and there are several senior members of my cabinet that were hired originally by Governor Christie, who I have on my team, and there were several steps he took in this area that I supported then, and I support now. So, for instance, cutting down that first prescription to 5 days has been a game changer. We had a son. Our oldest son got into an automobile accident in 2015, shattered his collarbone. He was given a prescription of Percocet, 82 pills. 82 pills. He was out of state, but now he returned. It scared the heck out of him, and it scared the heck out of us. He returned 77 of them. But as you likely know, Ralph, and so many individuals, it's a physical or mental health challenge that's adjacent to the addiction challenge. And then they go hand in hand, and that's the way it starts. We don't believe that putting me up on television does a whole lot, so we've rejected that. We're not big into my gut tells me this is what we should do, so we're Moneyball folks. So we put a lot more money into treatment, as you can imagine. We put a lot more money into court-mandated treatment in particular. We put a significant amount of money into tracking the data. You know, if you have got a heart condition, or God forbid, or cancer or something else, the data is so available and so widely held. It isn't true in the addiction arena. So we're trying to get that, and we're not too proud to change course. So we're increasing the amount of beds, the increased Narcan's access and supply, a whole range of small steps that I hope add up. And by the way, law enforcement, where is Mayor Fife? Mayor Fife knows this because the Attorney General just broke up a big fentanyl operation down in your neck of the woods, and that's we're also aggressively using the Attorney General and state police and other resources to get at the criminal element. By the way, a big source of this is China. So I hope when the President is speaking to his colleagues, his counterparts in China, this is on the agenda. I don't know where you are on marijuana. My gut tells me we may be in a different place, but I'll just talk about medical marijuana at least. Okay. So I believe medical marijuana, which we have artificially held back, is hugely helpful, both as an alternative to that Percocet prescription, right, on the going in. And then if you are an addict and you're in recovery, it has proven to be an invaluable weapon on your progress out of dark days. So we had held back, the prior administration had really held back medical marijuana. We've opened it up now. It's gone from 15,000 people to 45,000 people enrolled in our programs around the state. It probably should be at 150 or 200,000. We've held that back pending the vote that was about to take place today. That vote was pulled, so we did not get there yet. So we'll likely aggressively further open up the medical regime in the next day or two. Now, it takes a while for that to take hold, but we have 6 up right now, which is way too few. We already took a step to have another 6. We're going to have a much bigger number in the next day or two to get this as broadly held as possible. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Who's up? Hey, sir, come on down.
Thank you, Governor. Oh, you got that. Just wanted to thank the Governor for being Perry Cicchini.
Hey, Perry.
My friends over here from Hudson County. I wanted to thank you for being a friend to education. I'm a proud union member, NJA member.
NJA?
And I just wanted to tell you that it's better to have a governor in Trenton that supports the teachers and tries to roll back some of the laws from 2011 that really hurt teachers, that they made less money now than they made
that's what I said
in 2011.
We just said that, right?
And you made a historic pension contribution, which is going to help teachers and retirees like myself. I'm a retiree. I'm a retiree.
How many years did you teach?
40.
Did you teach in town here?
Jersey City.
Jersey City is in the house. Okay, man. Congratulations.
Proud Jersey City.
Yeah.
And just wanted to thank you. And I was wondering if there was anything on the boards, because in 2011 they rolled back the cost of living adjustment also.
Yep.
And retirees haven't had a increase since 2011, and the same check, and everything has gone up, and gas and bills. So I just wonder if there's if that's on the boards.
Yeah. Let's hear it for the educators in the house. Great question. The answer is the so-called chapter, I'll be brief on this one, the Chapter 78 damage. We are in active conversations with our legislative partners, with NJEA, with AFT, with the other organizations. It's not easy, because some of these now have ballooned into ginormous numbers. But I always say cost of living is a great example of this. You look at, in aggregate, it's like $3 or $4 billion. But if somebody only looks at it in aggregate, they haven't taken the time to meet you and ask you, what does it mean to you monthly that you don't have that you could have or should have? And that's where it really hurts. It's one of those really tough public policy realities. It's big when you add it all up, but it's almost life-saving, particularly for a retiree month to month. So the answer is we're looking at it. I would just say this is a broader topic. I look at Oklahoma. I look at West Virginia. I look at some other places, and in Oklahoma, at least as of last fall, they were only going to school 4 days a week because they were underfunding education that much. Teachers weren't getting paid. In fact, they were getting cut, both their salaries and their numbers. Complete disrespect for educators. So I can never promise that we're always going to agree on everything, because no two people ever do. But I can tell you this, there will never be that disrespect in the state of New Jersey, period, full stop. Whether it's educators, law enforcement, union brothers and sisters more generally, you folks deserve respect. Whether we always agree or not, I can't promise that, but you deserve respect always. God bless you. Brandon, what do you got?
Welcome, Governor. Welcome to Hudson County, Governor.
Honored to be here.
I think you should move to Hudson County.
I want to move to Hudson. Would you raise your hand if you'd like me to move to Hudson
Come
County?
on. Come on.
Brian, do you have a small place down near, maybe near you could squeeze me in?
Governor, the question that I want to
your name,
ask
sir?
you, my name is David.
David?
Yes. The question I want to ask you is a transportation question.
Please.
It's a way of life in Hudson County. And we have come a long way under the leadership of Tom and the mayors of Hudson County. My question to you is, how is the transportation fund coming along? Because I know a few years ago, we had some challenges where it was underfunded, you taxed the gasoline, it came back up. So that's the question.
Good question. Let's hear it for David. Good question. Great question. So, again, I'm very critical. I'm not trying to say this just because I'm a sourpuss and I'm a glass half empty guy. To the contrary, I'm an optimist. But the Transportation Trust Fund, where'd David go? Oh, yeah, hey, man, I just want to make sure I see you. You're good. You could sit or stand. That was just to prove that this is not partisan. That was started by one of my mentors. Guess who started the Transportation Trust Fund? A Republican, Tom Kean. Governor Tom Kean started that in 1984. I was just with him the end of last week celebrating the 50th anniversary of the Educational Opportunity Fund, which he was, as an assembly member, the sponsor of. So good ideas come from both sides of the aisle. This one came from Governor Kean, and it was a good idea. And it basically said, let's dedicate a bunch of money through gas tax. Most of it's equity, a little bit of debt, and that would be the vehicle that we would fund our transportation improvements and needs. And over the ensuing years, in particular over the last administration, that was allowed to go virtually bankrupt. And there was a big decision taken in December of 2016, so this is now almost 2.5 years ago, to raise the gas tax, to replenish the Transportation Trust Fund, which it did, and then there's a path each year. Our treasurer, or whoever the governor is, their treasurer, looks at this annually in August and makes a decision based on a whole bunch of things, including inflation, whether or not that should continue to go up or down. I think it went up another 4.3 cents last August. And it stabilized the Transportation Trust Fund. As a parenthetical, my predecessor did not want to be known as raising taxes, so he cut the sales tax at the same time, which is a complete gimmick. Nobody probably even knows that it was cut, and we're leaving probably $600 or $700 million on the table. In a future blueprint, I'd like to talk to you about raising the sales tax back up, but I won't do that tonight. So the answer is we're finally back on our feet, but we allowed one of our great assets to rust, and that's our infrastructure. If you think about New Jersey's economy, there's two engines. The innovation economy, right? So that's pharmaceuticals, it's Bell Labs, it's AT&T, right? You got that? That's who we are. And the other one is the infrastructure economy, where we are. I know this because I mentioned I go to these National Governors Association meetings. 49 other states would die to swap in with us for our location. So what do we do about it? It isn't Democrat or Republican. You play the hand you've been dealt. If you believe your legacy is in innovation and your location is existential, and that means your infrastructure economy, invest in that. And that's what we're doing. Whether it's NJ Transit or fixing our roads or highways or bridges and tunnels, it's building out the green economy, which has a huge infrastructure piece to it. It is pounding away on the federal administration with our congressional delegation and New York's and others to get those federal projects built. So it's not a passing interest. People come to New Jersey. They come to Hudson County more often than not for a couple of reasons. One is public education, and the other is transportation. We're the densest state in the nation. So if you're the densest state in the nation, what's the one thing you've got to be able to do? Again, it's not Democrat or Republican. It's smart government. You've got to be able to move people around, both within your state and between your state and your neighbors. That's what it's all about. And so, in Hudson County, by the way, guys, I think this is no county better speaks to that, right? This is incredibly, this is the densest county in the densest state in the nation. So moving folks around is not sort of passing interest. This is pass-fail, and that's the way we're approaching it. Unfortunately, it wasn't approached that way in the past, but I promise you we're approaching it that way now. Thank you. Got one more? One or two more? Come on, man. What's your name?
My name is Marlon.
Marlon, come on, man. How are you?
Good. I just wanted to speak about education.
I think you and I could share this one. We're going to give that back to Marilyn.
I don't want to cry.
Oh, no. How old are you?
I'm 18 years old, and I currently a sophomore in high school. And
Here?
yeah,
Your city?
by the way. And you know, I know that there's a lot of kids out there that are insecure to speak about themselves, but I'm not. I talk a lot, and I can speak to whoever I speak to. You can walk to me in the street and say hello, and I'm going to start a conversation with you, and we're going to be there for an hour.
Marlon, you're proving that right now.
And, you know, not too many people would give me their answer, but because of my young age situation that I was homeless and stuff like that, I was retained and for 2 years, and now I'm currently 18 years old as a sophomore.
Do you have a family here?
Yeah.
In the gym or outside? Take a breath. Take a breath. Take your time. Take your time. You're doing great. You're doing great. All right? Want a sip of water?
I just want to be successful.
We'll give you a little bit of this. Hold on. That's for you, baby.
And a couple of the school staff, like Mr. Abato, Mr. Rivera, and if Mr. Cerrone is here, and Mr. Baez and many others, has been there alongside of me since the beginning. Mr. Abato always had my back.
Love you, man.
He helped me with a lot of stuff. We created a crew together, and we helped other people that have our situations. And we were able to relate, and that was my goal, to help out other people. And my goal for me and my family is just be successful and not let my mom work again. And I, as an 18-years-old person in high school and being a sophomore, I am very mature according to my teachers. I'm not smart academically, but we can talk business, and it would be only me talking. I wouldn't let you speak, because I would be always right. And I would have the life experience, and I would bring you the proof. If you need it, I'll bring a copy for me and you, and we're going to read it together, but I'm not going to tell you something just out of the cloud. And that's what I want to do, but mainly educationally, and what is beneficial for me as a sophomore, 18 years old, and many other people. I think I'm the only student here, but I guess, what is available for us to be successful? I mean, I know not all of them want to be successful, but it's fine. I want to be successful. And as you can see, I started at the age of 14 at the supermarket, literally down the block, packing bags only because financial issues with my parents. And that motivated me, and my teachers tell me that I'm too fast, but I'm like, well, I started at the age of 14, so what do you want me to do? And that's always been my mentality, and now I'm up to the point of, what do I do? I'm 18 years old, I get opportunities, but I say, well, I'm not available from 8 to 4. And most of the time, meetings are hosted in the morning, breakfast is in the morning, and I cannot do that. And it leads me to the position, like, what do I do? And I get offered GED. I said, no, I don't want a GED. I don't want, people judge you for that, literally. They look at you, they say, this person is a GED person. I don't want that. And I don't want to drop out. It's not useful. Then that means I didn't want to be successful in life in general. My goal is to be successful, and my question is, what is available for me as an 18-years-old sophomore to graduate, hopefully by next year?
So, stay here, all right? Mr. Biles, you want to stay here, please? How are you, man? There is nothing I can say that will top what this guy just said. Let's hear from Marlon. A big welcome to Marlon here. Holy cow. So a couple of things. You said you're not maybe as academically as, is that Dad up there? Or?
That's teacher aide that I know from Spanish class, and that's my cousin and aunt and a couple of Union City.
I feel like I'm in an episode of This Is Your Life.
Well, you should be. So most of my contacts and friends are people from UCPD. If you go to my contacts, it's UCPD only.
Okay, so here we go. A couple of quick things. Number one, don't let anyone ever tell you to slow down. I reject that advice. Number two, right? Number two, finish your education. I know you probably don't want to hear that from me. I know my kids don't want to hear that from me, by the way, either. But I really believe with all my heart that finishing your education is the right first step, and it's only a couple of years. You're still really young, right? You're still really young, man. Then I'll tell you where I think my advice has changed over the years. Everybody, when I was growing up, everyone said you had to go to a 4-year college or you hadn't gone to college. Well, that has changed, and there's lots of alternatives for you once you get that high school diploma in your hand. So whether it's the county college, which is among the best in the state, whether it's a workforce development or apprenticeship program, maybe it is a 4-year college. Maybe it's a balance between taking some technical studies and working. I was the U.S. ambassador to Germany. They're the best in the world at the dual track system, where you both go to school and you work and you learn a skill. And those are really good jobs that those folks grow up to, and they make a lot of money, and it's a lot of security in life. I would just say one thing. When I was your age, we had no money, and that was the only thing that I was focused on. And I would just say one other caution. That's probably something you want to be a little bit more balanced on. Measure success in a broader sense. Being secure is important, right? Having financial security is important. I'm not making light of that. But also, are you happy? Do you have a job you really love going to work in the morning? Do you have a friend group? It sounds like you do. You've got a bigger support system than I do. Do you have people around you who you really love being around? Do you have time for your hobbies and stuff, avocations and things you like to do?
Yes.
So that's, I would measure, the only thing I'd say to you is measure success a little bit in a broader sense. Okay. All right? Yes. Let's hear it one more time from Marlon. I wish you nothing but the very best. Make sure, guys, make sure I know how to find you. Okay? You and I are going to keep talking. Okay.
Oh, wait. Governor?
Governor Pablo Gonzalez with the Amalgamated Transit Union Local 820, right here in Union City. How you doing?
I'm good.
As an employee of New Jersey Transit, I want to thank you for what you have done for New Jersey Transit in this past 18 months. And my question is, where are we going with New Jersey Transit in the future? Where do you see us at?
So where are we going with New Jersey Transit? I hope the management of NJ Transit is more proficient with technology than I am, and I know they are. Up, and up. This is not that long ago that NJ Transit was rated to be the #1 commuter rail and bus system in America. That was not in the 19th century. That was within the past decade or so. So it's the right management, a big expansion of engineers and bus operators. It's getting through all of the federal safety requirements and hurdles. We've gotten through the biggest one so far. It is constantly focused on improving performance, on time and safe performance. As I said, it's the right management, it's the right state support. And we have to, as I mentioned, we have to get our federal partners to come in and help us do the things that we can't do on our own. And assuming we do, and I'm optimistic we will do that, we have nothing but good days ahead. But I want to caution folks, it's not going to be tomorrow. You know, we're digging out of a big hole. We will get there, but we're digging out of a big hole, and the trajectory, without question, is up. You know how those sine curves that go like this? So they're going, some days are better than others, but the line that you shoot through them is going up meaningfully, and it will continue to go up. Let's take one or two more. What happened to Brandon? And Brandon, what do you got, man?
Come on. Right here, Gov, right here.
Oh, what's that?
Hi.
Hi, ma'am. Okay, can you hold on one sec? Hey.
Hi. Thank you so much for coming out tonight.
My pleasure.
My name is Alana Prager. I am a
What's your first name?
Alana.
Alana, nice to meet you.
So I am a proud parent of a 6th grader, and my question is, I'm noticing that a lot of state universities, New Jersey, the prices are increasing dramatically, and the idea of paying $10, $20, $30, $40,000 a year makes me break out into a cold sweat. Do you have any plans to help bring down those costs for state universities?
Sure. So this is, and the clock is not our friend, and I'm going to give you a chance. Just give me 1 second. Alana, the answer is yes, but there's no one thing we can do. So, for instance, importantly, and I mentioned this to Marlon, a 4-year college isn't necessarily for everybody. So if you're a community college aspirant, a county college aspirant, and you have financial need, we are the leading state in the nation in allowing you to go to that college free of charge. 13,000 students around the state started in January. That number will go up to 18,000 in September if we get the budget through that we've requested. That's a big deal. There's something called tuition assistance grants. We've increased the amount of money in that bucket. I mentioned the Educational Opportunity Fund a short while ago with Governor Kane. There's more money in that bucket in our budget. We're unveiling a higher education master plan tomorrow, in fact, in Newark. We're putting a significant amount of money to support that master plan. A master plan, by the way, that is student-focused, that is student-centric as opposed to institution-focused or institution-centric. So we unfortunately lead the nation in exporting our high school seniors per capita. That's a fact that we have to break the back of. We've got to make college more attractive and more affordable. Another non-financial part of that is to deepen the relationship between our big research universities and the real economy. So take a Rutgers, a Princeton, which have between them well north of $1 billion something of annual research. Deepening that in the real economy attracts young people to want to stay here. And it's not just those two, but those are two of the big ones. And you could look at other deepening between institutions of higher ed and the real economy. So it's all of those steps. Not one of them makes college with a magic wand affordable, but those are all steps when added together have a cumulative impact. Thank you for that. Ma'am, quick comment from you. What's your name?
Margaret Clark.
Come on, stand up, Margaret.
Yes.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Marlon?
No.
Okay.
My
You thought I wasn't going to call on you. Now you're trying to think, what the heck do I want to say?
You got me all confused. I just want to say, if it hadn't been for Brian Stack many years ago,
yep,
I wouldn't have had an apartment. And he was right there for me. He doesn't care what race you are, what religion, and I'll always be there for him because I think he's a great mayor.
So there's a... I love that.
He's done a
So
lot for me.
I will close with this. You and I have something in common. Without Brian, you wouldn't have had an apartment. Exactly. And without Brian, I wouldn't be governor. God bless you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Where's the constituent table? The constituent table is right out there. There are more questions than we were able to answer. Please, we take this seriously. Give them your questions, and we will get back to you. Union City, Hudson County, Colin Powell, God bless you all, and thank you all.
Love you, buddy. Thank you very much. You saw the commissioners here, right? Wendy and everybody?
I did.
Wendy, Margie.
I hugged